Jimmy Butler actually got traded. Is there a buyout candidate in this mix for the Boston Celtics? Plus, Derrick White is awesome. We'll talk about it all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamped. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Raining Jays, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And I got you covered every Monday through Friday with a free podcast that drops directly to your device. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your shows and watch the show on YouTube. You can get into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking about all the stuff we're talking about today. If you're new to the show, I am John Karalis. I have been covering the Celtics for about 20 years, and I'm doing it right now as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. So I'm there in the locker room talking to the players, talking to the coach. So I'm giving you a little bit of an inside look at the Celtics. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. It's Super Bowl 59 time. No better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Jimmy Butler actually got moved. They actually did it. So a rival, Miami, has changed their team. There is a potential buyout candidate in this, and we're going to talk about it all with our guy, Tom Westerholm. Tom, how you feeling, my man?
I haven't been traded yet. I'm ready here, ready to talk about Jaden Springer. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, yep. We are a second apron podcast, so it's tough to make the move.
That's right.
So you're here. You're here for, the deadline's tomorrow, so we'll see if we can
well, listen, I have that de facto no trade clause in my contract, and you're gonna have to, it's gonna be tough.
The biggest issue is that even though Zach Lowe is a free agent, he was signed to more than the mid-level, so I can't sign him on the buyout market, which sucks. So
for you, yeah, that does suck.
So Tom Westerholm, everybody.
Hey, I'm here, guys. I'm here, and I'm not Zach Lowe. Sorry.
All right. So Jimmy Butler traded moments before we recorded this. We're recording this podcast, so it's all still fresh. So a couple of things. Later on, we'll get to Derrick White. The funny thing is, we were going to talk about Derrick White on the last podcast.
Yeah, I've been waiting.
You've been dying. This is Tom's thing. Tom has been saying how, man, Derrick is the perfect kind of outlet for Jayson Tatum in these moments when he gets doubled. And I'm like, okay, we didn't get a chance to talk about it then. And then he has that game against the Cavs. And it's like, wow. And I even text you, I'm like, you were saying about Derrick White? Yeah. And so this was going to be the perfect day to be like, we didn't get to talk about it then. And then the Heat trade Jimmy Butler. So we got to talk about the Jimmy Butler trade. And we got to talk about a potential buyout candidate there in the wake of the trade. But first of all, Miami, just as a rival of the Celtics, a potential player. I think this deal, I don't know. Are you with me on this? Am I too down on it? I think this kind of eliminates them a little bit as a potential. Like, I never thought that they were going to be, even with Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
But I think, look, this move is, they got under the tax. They got under all the aprons. They've got other moves that they can make. And so this is a retooling. To Miami's credit, I think they understand, like, they have to try to retool on the fly. But my big takeaway is just a rival has been eliminated in the short term for the Celtics.
I think that's right. I think that happened as soon as it became abundantly clear that Jimmy Butler had no intention of continuing to be a functional part of the Miami Heat, right? Like, because I mean, look, the team, it's not like the Heat, again, like you were saying, it's not like the Heat were that scary, that impressive, right? Like they're not like the kind of team that you're like, oh man, Celtics got to be hoping they don't see them in the playoffs. Like we just saw what a team looks like when it's an actual, like an actual contender, and the Celtics beat them too. So
Yeah.
like
Miami's a 500 team,
yeah,
right? They're barely over 500 at home. They're 11 and
yeah,
14 on the road. They're
and
not. Yeah.
right. And like if you're the Celtics, right, it's like I would understand a little bit if you had some PTSD, like I think especially if the Celtics hadn't won the championship last year, I think then it would be like, man, like this team's had some high profile failures. You just see Miami kind of move out of that, like actual sort of like, hey, maybe we can make a run type status might feel a little better. As it is, it's like Celtics have won a title. They are better than the Heat by a lot. Like this, like did they kind of remove themselves from like even being like a second round team? Definitely. Like I don't think this. Yeah, I don't think this Heat team is that competitive. I don't think it was that competitive from the start, in part because their best player, their second best player, however you want to call it, Tyler Hero, is like the kind of player who the Celtics are just like, yeah, let me feed.
Yeah.
Like,
Please make him the focal point of what you're doing.
yes, like please make him an indispensable part of what you're doing because we want to see him on the floor as much as we can. Like
Yes.
anytime that's one of the reasons why I we could talk about other contenders in the East. That it's one of the reasons that I don't totally buy them as teams that could potentially knock the Celtics out, but that's kind of neither here nor there. I think the Heat were probably on their way out or completely out as contenders against the Celtics before this, but now certainly.
And like, look, there's a play-in tournament and all of this stuff, so this isn't exactly how it goes, but the 2-7 matchup, if it held, is Boston and Miami.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very relevant to the Celtics. This has a strong potential right now, and we're 4 games from the All-Star break. So it's a lot can change, obviously, but this is currently the 2-7 and another Miami and Boston again. So if nothing else,
some real Kansas City, Philadelphia vibes from another Miami.
Just
Boston,
enough. And I say that as a person who would get to go to Miami in April, which is the perfect time to go to Miami. My wife would probably kill me right now if she heard me because she's like, yeah, that's a great, like, I get to take a vacation and go to she would love to have like a 2-game stretch. First round too. Think about that. It's extended. You probably get 2 days off between the home games. You're going to be down in Miami for like 5-6 days. Like, even as I'm saying, I'm like, maybe that wouldn't be such a bad idea, but I'm so sick.
Everyone would be really crying for you for
right. But I am so sick of that matchup. I'm so sick of going into that building. It sucks in that building. It's not great.
Yep.
I don't want to be in there. I don't want to be in that media room anymore. Like, give me something else. I'll be happy to go to Orlando. Similarly nice. Sure. Not on the water or anything, but still the weather would be nice. Give me something like that. Give me something
nicer arena. Much nicer arena in Orlando, I think.
Yeah. There's stuff to do there. It's not the same, but whoever gets to go to the beach at that point, who cares? People aren't listening to hear what my travel plans are going to be. But what I'm saying is I'm sick of the Miami matchup. So I would be happy to see Jimmy Butler go away and have this just clearly fall into retooling. I also don't think that Golden State has done anything like this doesn't move the needle with Golden State. So the 3 elements to this are Jimmy Butler's gone. Great. Golden State, did they do anything to make themselves a contender? And then I see just people chiming in like, oh man, no, I don't want to see Andrew Wiggins here to try to defend Jayson Tatum. Like that wasn't 3 years ago. And Andrew Wiggins is a different player now. And Tatum can't figure out how to handle that. So is it okay if we flat out dismiss the Andrew Wiggins stuff? Because I'm perfectly happy. I don't think he's playing well enough to make that an issue.
I think it's probably fair. I do think, I mean, look, I think there could be some addition by subtraction here, right? Like if you're Miami and you're like, you've been dealing with all this stuff all season of just like, like Jimmy's like back and then he's gone, then he's back and then he's gone. And I'm just so sick of hearing him complain about every dang thing. Like, I think there could be some some level of,
Yeah.
of improvement there. The Wiggins thing, sure. He's, maybe that's an improvement just because he is not Jimmy Butler and he is a functional NBA player. And like, I don't know, maybe that makes them a little better. Just, those two simple things.
And then Golden State, I don't think this makes Golden State any, does that propel them anywhere? I'm just down on Jimmy Butler also. Like, it's not, I don't think he's playoff Jimmy anymore.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah, I'm not. And he got an extension like that's like
121 million. Yeah.
Is it 121? Because I saw somebody say 112. Like maybe the numbers good.
Maybe
Either way, it's either 20 million a year. I mean, 60 million a year or close to 60 million a year, which is like
wild.
Oh, what? You're paying Jimmy Butler that? Are you nuts? So, it's kind of, I don't want to say no risk because you're paying Jimmy Butler a lot of money and it never ends well anywhere. But, would you give up Wiggins and Kyle Anderson and Dennis Schroeder? Like, so big deal.
Yeah. And you can kind of sell it to Steph, who's been saying like, can somebody please get me, something here? Like you can tell them, like, hey Steph, we did what we could. Here's a multi-time all-star. Here's a guy. Aren't you excited?
Yeah. Ultimately, it's like, okay, Miami is not any better. But your point of addition by subtraction, having that headache gone, valid, could be something there. Yeah. But I still don't think they got any better. I don't think Golden State's moving the needle there. Kyle Anderson, though, could he be a buyout candidate? Could the Celtics benefit from all of this? We'll talk about that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Basketball season here. We're in the middle of it right now, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports with over 10 million members and billions in awarded winnings. Prize Picks makes it easy and fun to turn your knowledge into real money. Here's how it works. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections. And if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. That's a lot. Prize Picks even has a free pick for the big game where Patrick Mahomes only needs to throw 1 yard to win. I'm intrigued. Pair that with one more correct pick and you're cashing out. So you can go and pick, like for the Celtics, you can pick more on his points. You can pick less on Jaylen Brown's assists. So you have options there. You can pick these lineups. You can set them in less than 60 seconds. It's super fast and secure to withdraw your money, so you get paid quickly when you win. Plus, they have a Taco Tuesday promo. Speaking of Jayson Tatum, remember when his name was Taco Jay? They have a Taco Tuesday promo that gives you discounted player projections for even more value. Check out the promos tab to tail any of the super sweet Millie winners from the big game lineups. If you tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can win a split of $1 million in promo funds. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly. All you have to do is play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Now go download the new Locked On Celtics newsletter. It's at LockedOnDaily.com. Click on the Locked On Celtics logo, enter your email, and get it delivered directly to your inbox. Celtics, NBA, and fantasy coverage, plus links to some of the best stories out there on the internet. Plus, it's a great way to keep up with the podcast. If you happen to miss a show here or there, you probably shouldn't be missing many shows. But if you do, this newsletter will help you keep up with the podcast. So go check that out. LockedOnDaily.com. Put your email in for the Locked On Celtics newsletter. Let's get back to the conversation here with Tom. Kyle Anderson, what the Miami Heat do with Kyle Anderson, still up in the air. Originally, the rumor was going to Toronto. That didn't work out. They're keeping him for now, but there are conversations about what they're going to do with him. either they will trade him, or I assume they will buy him out or trade him somewhere where he can be bought out, whatever it is, because they're a luxury tax team. They got under the luxury tax. They don't want to become a luxury tax team. So trading him somewhere where he can get bought out, now that they're under all the aprons and stuff, they can send cash and get it done that way. The potential there, the Celtics have traded Jaden Springer. By the way, that's news that happened also
Today.
The Celtics traded away Jaden Springer, which is, I was like all for keeping him, but when you say $15 million tax, it's like I can't. I really honestly I can't get mad at that. Like,
I mean, it's so funny for me, like, to be like, yeah, I understand why you're not, to like people who can certainly afford it, right? Like you can afford that money, but like for Jaden Springer, I mean, God bless him. He did okay, right? He like came out and played some defense and did okay. Like good for him. But
yeah,
you can't. Like, come on. Like 15 million. Like, all right, fair enough.
Yeah. Listen, I think his usefulness might have passed anyway.
Yeah.
Because we are like the season can be split into very distinct thirds. The Celtics in the first 27 games were really good and they didn't need Jaden Springer. In the middle, like by the time they get to the All-Star break, that will be 28 games. And they have been like, they probably should have used Jaden Springer a little bit more in the first part of that. But I can understand, like, trying to get through it and like, okay, so they used them a little bit. Now they're at the tail end of that 28 games. They got 4 more games left. So they're at 24 of that middle third. And, they're starting to look like more themselves. So you probably don't need Jaden Springer for much more. And then that third is post All-Star break, 27 games until the end. And you shouldn't need Jaden Springer in that stretch. So, yeah, you move him, because if you're not going to need him, like, I get it. Would I like to keep him as like a potential? Like, sure, we talked about it.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. It's not my money, but $15 million in luxury tax. I get it. Okay, fine.
I get it.
So they have 2 spots open.
Mm-hmm.
They have to fill at least
full Kyrie Irving voice. 2 spots.
2 spots. They have to fill at least one within the next 2 weeks. So could be upgrading one of the two-way guys, but the buyout market is probably going to be the way it goes. So you have like Torrey Craig, who was just cut by Chicago. It's a popular name. Kyle Anderson becomes a popular name here. I like the idea of Kyle Anderson because he just knows how to play.
Yeah.
I think he fits Boston better. And like, especially like the slow-mo tag, the Celtics aren't a fast team anyway.
They don't get out in transition.
They don't. Yeah, no, he would work just fine. And the best part about Kyle Anderson is I don't want to say he doesn't make mistakes, but he's very
at that speed.
Solid.
You better not.
You better not. Right. He's very solid. He makes the right play. He can hit the open shots. He's not afraid to take the open shots. Mm-hmm. He's a good, solid player. Get him at the minimum if you can, if he becomes available. I assume that if he becomes available, the Celtics become one of the destinations for him because they are a championship contender. Like, why wouldn't you want to join? Like, the Celtics are one of them. OKC, Houston, Denver, like those are New York, whatever. I would say Boston has a legitimate need. Like, Brad Stevens can go to Kyle Anderson, and it's not like the other buyout candidates that Brad Stevens has gone to and be like, you might play, you might not play. Like, you go to Kyle Anderson and be like, buddy, we got a role for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like, I think it'd be really interesting because I think, you'd be kind of looking at Sam Hauser and being like, man, you're an awesome shooter. And like, there's for sure going to be times that you're playing, and there's going to be times in the playoffs where you're playing. Maybe a few less. You might be a few less times that you're playing. And like, Kyle Anderson is not by any means the 3-point shooter that Sam Hauser is. He can shoot a little bit. He's like, I think I just saw he's 36-ish, 37% this year. 36.5% this year. Not bad, right? Fine. But like, it's all the other stuff. And I think, for whatever reason, when I watch Sam Hauser play defense, I don't see a lot that he's doing wrong. But for whatever reason, guys just kind of get buckets on him. And, I think it's, like, even if it's not really, I don't know, like even if you're not really doing anything wrong, it's like sometimes in the playoffs, like you can't be giving up those buckets. Like you just don't want to have targets on the floor. And Kyle Anderson, I mean, he is slow, but I think he'd be less of a target in that way. I don't know. It'd be interesting. He would definitely, worst case scenario, right? Before the season started, we talked about like, okay, is Jordan Walsh, is he like the next guy up in the rotation? Jordan Walsh is not playing in the playoffs, and Kyle Anderson could. So you would be kind of pushing that part of the roster back just away from being necessary. And that there's something to that for sure.
I think that's where it is. I think that's where it is. If you're going to pay a minimum guy to come in and like, I think he would have a role, and I think he would get minutes no matter what. And like you said, if Sam has like he's been dealing with like the back stuff, and I think he's made great strides over the course of his career. I don't think this is a season of great strides this year. And so that doesn't mean I don't think he's taken a step backwards.
It just only in health, right?
Yeah. I just don't think that he's taken a big step forward. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, fine. Getting Kyle Anderson here, and to be clear, there may be games where he doesn't play. And that does actually have to be part of the equation. I think with anybody on the bench, you have to realize that. But I think Kyle Anderson can understand that you can come here, a team, if there's a team out there that values your intelligence and your ability to make the right play, I think it's the Celtics. So if he does become available, then I think he's somebody to watch for. And the Celtics should probably be kind of mindful. Like they should be in touch with his agent.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, like,
yeah. What do you think? I mean, you look up and down, like, right. He's been in the league for 11 years, which is kind of crazy. Like I wouldn't have thought that Kyle Anderson would be an 11-year NBA vet, but like that's where he's at. And if you go up and down, there's like, I think he's an interesting case where there's good teams in there, but there's not. And I mean, last year's Timberwolves team was probably right the closest that he's probably gotten to like playing in the NBA Finals. But he's never been on like this is a contender type team. I don't think. You get a chance to play for the Celtics, you are whatever they do, they are a contender. Like they're for real. So yeah,
it's your best chance. It's your best chance.
Great chance. Yeah.
If there's if you're in Miami, like it's nice to be in Miami.
Yeah.
But like if you're sitting there saying, hey, right, you have been in the league for 11 years. If the agent's like, guys, come on, let's figure this out. Can you send us to Washington with some cash so they can cut us? Like let's figure this out. So definitely a name to watch. Definitely a name I'm watching. All right. We're going to wrap up this podcast by talking about a guy who's here. Derrick freaking White, who was awesome in the fourth quarter. He is back with a capital B. We'll talk about him when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here, whether you like it or not. It's Philly, it's KC, it's got to be played, and we're going to watch it, maybe. But you can watch it with FanDuel if you'd like. I mean, that might be a way to make the game more interesting. You can do things like predict the first touchdown, the MVP, bet on the coin toss. It's a way to get in on the action. And with live betting all game long, it's a way to keep you interested in the game that you probably want both teams to lose. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win 200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's the icing on the cake. Look, they have the tools there that are available. You know what you can afford to lose just in case you have a bad streak. So set your limit, set your budget, whatever it is. Have fun. If you want to open up the app and bet on a few things during the game to keep you invested, go for it. Download the app or head to fanduel.com to get you started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's fanduel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA Game Night Monday through Monday. It's a 7-day-a-week podcast. So every day of the week, games, every game in the NBA will be covered. So go check that out. Normally I'm there on Fridays with Jake Madison, but the Celtics play on Thursday night against the Dallas Mavericks. So I will not be able to join the show, but join Jake in the fill-in. I'll be back there next Friday to have a fun conversation about the league. And then there's a midday show covering all the big topics, all the trades and all that stuff. So make sure you're checking that out. All right, Tom. Derrick White had 14 points in the fourth quarter. It could have more. Honestly, there was an uncalled foul on a three-pointer. That should have been at least 3 free throws right there.
Well, who knows if he would have made them given his other.
Well, yeah. And that's the other thing I was going to talk about. Like, he just barely missed an and one, and then he biffed the 2 free throws. So, like, it could have been 19-point fourth quarter for Derrick White. And some of it was like the stuff that we were talking about where he's playing off Jayson Tatum. But honestly, like the first couple of shots that he took, he just launched. He took one from the logo, the right hash mark. He just said, there's an opening. You're going to step behind. You're going to step back for me. No problem. I'm going to fire.
This looks good.
Yeah. The level of confidence. Confident Derrick White, when he's shooting like that.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, when a guy's hitting most of his shots, he looked great. It's Derrick was playing just out of control basketball, defense, distributing, seeing the floor, recognizing things, making the right reads, and then obviously hitting shots. This is the point. This is your point. This is the one you want to make about him playing off Jayson Tatum. But yeah, you know what? I am going to shut up. Go for it. You make your point.
No, I mean, I think it's fascinating to me. Like one of the when Tatum is like Jaylen Brown is obviously kind of the guy that you're like, oh, like if Tatum doesn't have it, then then Jaylen kind of takes over, and like there's something to that. But the thing that's interesting with Tatum is like when he is going off and when he is having a huge game, or when he's like starting to threaten, right? Like when there's storm clouds on the horizon and the other team is looking at it and they're like, there's Jayson Tatum might go for 50 lightning flickering in the distance. Then, a lot of times what we're seeing now is another guy coming up to take the ball out of his hands. And at that point, I think the Celtics' most important player in those moments is Derrick White, because he and Tatum has gotten so good, obviously, at reading like defensive coverages, he was running stuff with Porzingis, like pick and roll stuff. But when he runs those pick and pops with Derrick White and 2 guys go with him and Derrick White just moves off him a little bit. If Derrick is making shots, there is just not a single solitary thing that you can do, because the ball is either in Jayson Tatum's hands and Jayson Tatum is Tornado Jayson, getting ready to happen, or he's got another incredibly smart basketball player who also happens to be a guy who can hit threes from the hash mark and is comfortable getting into the paint and hitting floaters and just makes a lot of really good basketball decisions. You've got 2 guys who make pristine basketball decisions in those situations now, playing off each other. Like it's just so deadly. Like I think, like Derrick White is just, he's when he's at his best, he's just such an indispensable part of this team, and he makes them just so tough on both ends. I don't know, man. it's funny because sometimes I'll like sit there and say, am I too high on Derrick White? And every time the answer is no, I never am. Like he's an awesome basketball player.
And you know what's going to happen to the defense? Exactly what just happened to us. Forget about Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
You forget about Jaylen freaking Brown.
Yeah.
Who,
yeah, exactly.
In this game against Cleveland wasn't on the floor because of the foul trouble. And then, Joe just didn't put him back in.
Yeah.
But to have, first of all, to have Derrick White that you can go to in lieu of Jaylen Brown in a situation, and let's be clear, in lieu of Jayson Tatum if it needed to be, right? It's not exclusively just playing off of Jayson Tatum.
Mm-hmm.
If Jayson rolls an ankle in the beginning of the fourth quarter, Derrick White is capable of stepping up. I think we're at a point now where this isn't 2 years ago, that this is, if it's Jaylen and Derrick playing off of each other, they are going to try to double Jaylen because I think Jaylen is a little bit more turnover prone. So they're going to be like, yeah, well, let's really try to, if Jaylen can get off of that ball just as quickly as Jayson does and find Derrick White, then it's going to be right there for him too. And Jaylen is so good at getting to the basket that you can get off the ball and cut and get the ball back. So there's a lot going on here that Derrick kind of makes happen. And frankly, this is why when we talk about the future of the Celtics down the road, whenever they need to get under the second apron, I know people are worried about, because Jrue Holiday was listed as questionable with a shoulder thing, and people are like, oh my God, is he going to be traded? Like, no, guys, the injury report comes out on the trade deadline too. Yeah. And like, it's just a thing that he's been dealing with. At some point, Drew's going to have to probably go.
Yeah.
Or maybe Porzingis too, or either, or whatever it is. My feeling is whatever you got to do, but keep Derrick White. Keep Derrick White, because I've said it from the beginning, like, he is the bellwether of this team. When he's playing well, the team's playing well. Honestly, it is impossible to me for the Celtics to lose if Derrick White is playing well. Because if Derrick White's playing well, then everybody is playing well, right? I've never seen a game. I literally have not seen a game with the Celtics where Derrick is playing well and the Celtics are playing like crap. When he's playing well, everybody is with it. So he is so critically important. That game against Cleveland, that fourth quarter, not a surprise at all, because he's capable of that. But fun to watch, and he can so easily play off of either of Boston's stars. But we talk about it because Jayson Tatum is going to be the guy with the ball in his hands. If Jaylen was out there in the corner and cutting, like, this is a grand opportunity for Jayson to make his play, Derrick to make his play, and Jaylen to be like, oh, by the way, let me just sneak behind everybody who's distracting, and be like, woohoo, I'm underneath the basket, and Derrick to find him for some easy buckets. If they just do that, if that becomes their fourth quarter execution, chef's kiss. They are unstoppable if they can make that happen.
You and I are in full agreement on this. I will say it's very funny that you said, because I literally just looked this up the other day, that you said that you can't think of a time when Derrick played great that the rest of the team didn't play well. There was that game against the Hawks earlier this season. Derrick had his season high of 31 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 10 for 15 from the field, 7 for 12 from 3, and the Celtics lost to the Hawks in OT, 117-116. Trae Young did not play that game, so of course the Hawks were.
Oh, that explains it. That explains it.
I know. It's like
that's it.
Didn't even need to really say it, but yeah. But it was just funny because that it did happen once, and in that game, Tatum was 5 for 16 from the field. Jaylen scored 37 in that one, so just that was a really weird game.
That was a weird game.
Yeah,
bizarre.
Yeah.
okay,
Derrick White is awesome too.
We have established. Listen. Not a lot of podcasts have the guts to say things like Derrick White is awesome.
Yeah.
We do. We will go out on that limb. We will take the hard stand and tell you Derrick White is awesome. when no one else will tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I mean, you got to be brave because even if you fail in bravery, there are echoes of glory in that. And that is, that's what we do here.
I like that. I like that. All right, man. And on that note, we bid you adieu. Thank you, Tom Westerholm.
I appreciate you.
I always appreciate Tom Westerholm's hot takes on this program. Please tell me if you disagree. It's I know it's the hottest of hot takes. Get into the comment section there on the YouTube page. I really do appreciate you all listening, subscribing, watching the show on YouTube. The comment section is a fun place to be. Share your thoughts in there with your fellow Celtics fans. And then I would love it if you shared the podcast. Please help us out and tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.